So this is right after, actually 1 week after the 3/11. Okay, next one. So probably all of you saw that movies and in TVs that tsunami came and everything was destroyed. And if I talk about numbers, the 10% of the population had been died in Onagawa town, which we're going to talk about. Then 80% of business has been destroyed in the city called Kisenma, which is quite a big city. And the population of the area, which is called Ogatsu, which is a fisherman town, declined from 4,300 to just only 500. So it's like one town is totally disappeared. But, not but, it's like there is no hope in those areas which are devastated. But after that, I went to those places so many times. Actually, I can't even remember how many days I spent my time in there. But every time I go there and speak to the local people, actually I find so many hopes in there. So there is so many stories in there, but I will just introduce you 2 stories for me. First story is about fishermen. So the fishermen had a tradition that they will go offshore after the earthquake to save their boat, because the boat is very important tool for their business. And this time they went offshore for 2 or 3 days too, but after they came back, everything was washed away. And the family of the fishermen lives very close to the shore. So most of the fishermen's family has been washed away, actually. So what they did was pretty impressive for me, because fishermen are a very traditional job in Japan. They are pretty independent, and very competitive, and also not so collaborative to each other. Do not work together. But after the tsunami and that thing happened, they actually made a corporation which does quite new kind of fishery business in that area. So it's very, how can I say, very impressive for me. And also, one more thing which made me very impressed was there were the young people who were leading that project. And actually, they were getting support from all over Japan. The second story is about the farmers. So the average age of the farmers are over 65 in the Tohoku area. Not just Tohoku, but all over Japan, actually. But most of those lands were devastated like this. This one is strawberry fields, but most of those areas are affected like this. And Tohoku was famous as they grow very good rice. And most of old people just quit to do something because they are quite old, and they can just blame to the government that they need some subsidies for their compensation. But the young people actually tried to plant something, even those people sometimes prevent them to do that. So what they are doing right now is they are buying and getting those lands, which was very separated to the small pieces, and make a huge rice field, which has never existed in Japan, with the highest technology we can develop right now. So it's highly automated and very competitive, and they can make so much employment for the young people, which is quite strange for the Tohoku area, which is very rural. So this is 2 stories. And one thing I have to emphasize is that young people outside of the Tohoku areas are gathering to those areas to support those entrepreneurs. So probably you will hear more stories with these delegates. So I'm not going to talk about too much about stories, but that's what's happening in that area. The next thing is what I do with my organization. My organization's name is ETIC. Our mission is to cultivate and also ignite the entrepreneurship among the young Japanese people. So what we do is we coordinate internship between college students and entrepreneurs. And also we do incubate social entrepreneurs, especially young ones, in all over Japan. And about Tohoku, right after 311, we noticed that Tohoku needs so much human resources, which is skilled and enthusiastic. So what we've done is we've sent more than 70 young people who are sort of kind of crazy because they just quit their job and go to Tohoku to support, especially entrepreneurs. And we're going to send more than 300 young entrepreneurs to that area to change their mind and to provide them some kind of confidence. Because I can see so many fires and hopes in that area, but they need to be ignited from the resources outside of the Tohoku area. So not only Tokyo, but all over Japan, and sometimes from outside of the world. Because the knowledge I'm learning from the iLEAP could be one of those resources too. And my organization stories about this. At last, I want to share one of my stories. So every time I go to the Tohoku area, I saw so many deaths or people who is living with this. So I was a little bit depressed with hearing those stories, but I noticed that death is not so far away from me too, because my grandfather died in 4, maybe 5 years ago. And I remember that the last word he said to me was a little funny, but don't be too greedy. So I'm pretty ashamed that the last word was that. And I was pretty much uncomfortable to hear that because I was an entrepreneur in the local area and I was believing that I was doing something good to the community. And then I kind of forgot his word later. But these days, when I make any decision or make any move, his word just come up to my mind. So I ask myself that, is this the will of just myself, or it can be shared by someone else? So that's why I'm doing this kind of job, the coordinating stuff and other things. And I hope that currently Tohoku is regarded kind of negative, and Fukushima is even more. But someday, probably it will take a long time, as I learned here in this museum. But hopefully, someday people talks about Tohoku very positive and with hope. Like it was a turning point of Japan, some kind of like that. And I was strongly believing that Tohoku and those devastated areas will be kind of like ground zero for the Japanese young entrepreneurship. That's all my stories. Thank you so much for sharing.
素晴らしい。